Number 1. One small step for man, a giant leap for the green monster. In the first Avengers movie way back in 2012, this green boy was taking giant leaps forward with CGI innovation.
And I'm a huge fan of the way you lose control and turn into an enormous green rage monster.
Before the Avengers, the Hulk had just been a CGI creature, but with the development of the form, they are building every expression off of Mark Ruffalo. For their first go-round with the motion capture and the facial capture, Mark had to do these two things separately. Number 2. We love this advancement almost as much as Black Widow does.
Well, he has a temper. Deep down, he's all fluff.
For Age of Ultron, they wanted to take the Hulk to the next level with the photorealism. With the love story between him and Black Widow really taking form, the ability to be in tune with both body and facial expression became super important. Luckily, they had this ability for the 2015 blockbuster.
He's also a huge dork. Chicks dig that.
Number 3. The smartest Hulk design yet.
I put the brains and the brawn together. And now look at me.
They took the photorealism a million steps further by the time Endgame came around. And you can tell the smart Hulk is smart due to the cardigans.
When I had the gauntlet, the stones, I really tried to bring her back.
In the case of Smart Hulk, it was important that the actor really be in the scenes, and not just in a separate room recording the voiceover, as was the case for Rocket Raccoon. Number 4. And speaking of the rabbit, Rocket's design for the Avengers movies was easy because it was stolen straight from the Guardians movies. Other than the new outfit, of course.
Ain't no thing like me except me.
They used 2 actors, one for the voiceover and one for the motion capture. There was no reason to do mocap on Bradley Cooper because the difference between raccoons and humans is pretty apparent. But they did film him while he was reading the lines to get a general sense of the character.
I live for the simple things.
Like, how much this is gonna hurt?
Sean Gunn also curls up to 3 feet tall to play the physical character. It's a pretty awkward height to be at, if you ask us. Number 5. Iron Man without reflective armor would just be Matt Man. Technology in the film world was evolving as Tony's tech did. For the first Iron Man, Jon Favreau wasn't confident they could digitally create a full Iron Man suit, so they chose the practical method of building it. But that was quickly phased out in later movies. One of the struggles they had in Avengers was when the metal suit came in contact with Thor's wrath, or rather, the blue lightning, which really messed with the color tones they were going for in the suit. The surfaces of the suit were very finicky, and so new technology was developed to work with different wavelengths of light. Number 6. Turns out, animators are as genius as Tony Stark. By the time the animators got to the nanotech, everything had changed. Nanotech requires multiple layers of simulations, including a liquid metal simulation where Iron Man's suit would morph into these weapons fluidly.
Where'd that come from?
It's nanotech. You like it?
One problem they had was that the clothing was too textured and bulky. So it was RDJ's idea to have the clothes flatten to his body first. And by the time they got to Endgame, they had perfected the suit. However, when the suit appeared in Spider-Man Far From Home, they returned to their more rigid suit design from Captain America Civil War, and quite literally destroyed it to create this creepy scene. Number 7. Mark Ruffalo was not only thrilled to work with James Spader, but also to teach him the ways of the suit.
I'm trying to explain to him, how it all worked.
Filming with Ultron proved to be quite tricky for some of the noob Avengers, including Elizabeth Olsen, who just couldn't get used to looking at the red dots atop the actor's head that were meant to represent Ultron's eyes.
Probably majority of the shots, Aaron and I are both going like this.
Number 8. The Avengers fighting the air is only slightly more embarrassing than that one guy who waged war on Poseidon. By now you might be thinking, wow, she's only talked about the suits and not the scenes. Yeah, that's because most of them are shot on boring green screens. But we've got a cool scene to share now, so good for you for listening this far. And here it is. Yep, that's your favorite Avengers fighting the air. What an experience. Aren't you glad you stuck around? Number 9. When you've got an Avengers level budget, you can just build an actual tower. Joss wanted the entire set of the Avengers Tower to be connected. He wanted scenes to be able to move from floor to floor, hence fun moments like the camera operator in an elevator chair. Where can we get one of those? Asking for a friend. Number 10. How many subaltrons does it take to screw in a light bulb? Got a punchline? Leave it in the comments. Thor's cape wasn't even real in this scene. We wonder if Edna Mode had something to do with it.
No capes!
Remember how earlier we were talking about the evolution of Iron Man's suit? Well, the flexibility and creativity in Iron Man 3 is what gave them the confidence to have a whole army of subaltrons. Imagine if they'd tried doing Age of Ultron way back in 2008. Number 11. The Avengers assembling was not as assembly as it may seem. Building a scene like this with so many moving parts is partially trickery of the eye. All of it was shot against green screens. This gave the filmmakers more flexibility. If beats didn't cut together as well as they'd hoped, it was easier to move them to somewhere that did. You could say this scene required a lot of assembling. Number 12. Performing magic spells without the magic of CGI to accompany you on set must be lonely. It's kind of the most boring of fight choreography. Wait, does it even count as fight choreo? Or more like dance choreo? But the ability to actually kind of fly on set is cool at least. Number 13. We are about to hit you in the feels. POV. You're 7 years old. Your teeth are brushed, and you've got your jammies on. It is time for bed, and as per the bedtime ritual, you give Dad a hug before climbing up the stairs. We warned you. Number 14. One of the earlier designs of Thanos looked just like Barney the dinosaur. Kidding. Maybe. Eyelines are super important for an authentic performance. Just like we talked about with Ultron, when you've got giant characters, that gets complicated. Instead of red glowing lights above the head, Thanos' head was on a pole in a backpack. They also added displacement suits in areas where other actors are interacting with the character so that their hands are landing in the right place. Number 15. This isn't the first time we've seen Chris's face superimposed on another body. They cast an old guy with similar features to Chris Evans to play his skin double. He tried to emulate Chris's performance as much as possible, to try and make it easier on the CGI artists. Number 16. The best version of Thor needed no work. All those hours at the gym were wasted. Thor's bodysuit was done practically, but that doesn't mean it's without its flaws. They had to touch up the seam in the back, and also some extra unrealistic rolls. Oh, and say hello to Mocap Korg, but we don't think that's Taika Waititi sitting there. Number 17. They ran out of time to design the time suits. This time, we aren't joking. Seriously, the time suits were a combination of Ant-Man, Tony Stark, and Guardians tech. Due to the final movies filming back-to-back, they ran out of time to design them before filming took place and said, whatever, we'll figure it out in post. Meaning the suits were fully CGI. They almost had ugly bubble helmets for a bit. We're glad they rethought that. Number 18. No mocap was required, just 2 Chris's. The whole scene was CGI except the Chris's, and even then it's impossible to have 2. Chris Evans acted both parts alongside a body double. For the most part they didn't have to do facial replacements, but they did a little bit. Number 19. That feel when you start filming and you have no idea if your costume is comfortable. Thank CGI for saving the day. Captain Marvel's suit was fully digital because, once again, the designs for the suits were not ready for initial filming. Number 20. Like getting ready for a first date, the crew tried a million things to find that perfect blip. The blip took months of development. They wanted it to be quiet and elegant. A little bit of pain was mixed in, but they really wanted the pain to be felt by the audience. Well, we felt it. We sure felt it all right. Number 21. A silent but deadly joke seems important to the context of this next one.
I am Iron Man.
It took time to find the right tone of the tendrils as the Infinity Stones were eating away at the suit, and the suit was fighting to protect Tony. Number 22. We included this next one to show you guys the awesome green screen, obviously.
Dude, you're on your own!
They should have called Bruce Banner Quicksilver. Did you see how fast that guy ran? Number 23. And did you see how magical this blue screen is? Wow.
And we are all better for it.
Did you hear that thump? We think he hit the boom mic.
And we are all the better for it.
Yes, we are. Number 24. The design is quick, and it's silver. We say they nailed it. Quicksilver's design was intentionally not trying to play up the effects. They looked up various blurs and trails and landed on the Blue Streak Trail. And they included just a few stills at a time of the actor, so he isn't completely a blur if you look close. Number 25. Scarlett's design is, well, Scarlet, and kinda witchy. They nailed it too.
You see pictures of Scarlet Witch, and she's always like that.
Isn't that Spider-Man's thing? Scarlet's power has a similar design to her brother's, don't you think?
That just happened.